Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today because Deadpool and Wolverine is about 6 months away. We are previewing. We're getting you ready for that movie by reviewing all the previous movies that have Deadpool and Wolverine in them. We've done a couple Wolverine movies. Finally, we've made it to Deadpool, the first film. Before I get Brittany's thoughts on the film, I'm going to run you through some Deadpool facts. Released February 12th, 2016, so right around Valentine's Day in 2016. It's a spin-off of the X-Men film series, and it's the 8th X-Men movie overall. The movie had been in development for nearly 12 years before it came out. Ryan Reynolds was trying to get it made. Of course, he would go on to appear as Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Thankfully, this version of the movie we're talking about today is a more faithful version of the character than what we saw in that film. The movie had a budget of $58 million. Not very expensive by superhero standards. It made a box office of 782 million. So this movie definitely made a profit. At the time when it came out, it was the highest grossing film in the X-Men series. It was later replaced by Deadpool 2. And it was also the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Now it currently sits fourth behind Joker, Oppenheimer, and Deadpool 2. So, Deadpool's got 2 of the 4 highest grossing R-rated movies of all time. Pretty impressive. The runtime, 1 hour 51 minutes. Rotten Tomatoes scores 85%, which is one of the highest among the X-Men films. No surprise, I think, if you've watched this series of films. This movie, again, I mentioned it was a financial success. It was also a critical success. The movie won 2 Critics' Choice Awards, and it also was nominated for 2 Golden Globes. So pretty impressive for a superhero film. It was directed by Tim Miller, it was his directorial debut. It was written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who I love during the opening montage. They're referred to as the real heroes here. And of course, the cast: Ryan Reynolds, Morena Baccarin, Ed Skrein, or Ed Skrein? Ed Skrein.
Or
Yeah.
Screen or something like that.
It's tough to pronounce his name. Ed Skrein, TJ Miller, Gina Carano, Brianna Hildebrand, Stefan Kapičić, Leslie Uggams, and Karan Soni. Brittany, what are your thoughts on Deadpool?
It's definitely not a movie you go see with your family. It is, oh gosh, man. Seeing this movie, especially back in 2016, it broke, I think, a lot of barriers, especially for superheroes in the sense of, I think, like X-Men. Kind of, right? I mean, we don't get a whole lot of X-Men, but, like, for me, seeing Deadpool, like, break the fourth wall and just being his best self, and he was just fantastic. I mean, there's so many great one-liners in this movie. Ryan Reynolds getting a chance to reprise his role as Wade Wilson slash Deadpool, but a better version, right? I think it's phenomenal that he was able to do that, right? Because we did see him in X-Men Origins, Wolverine, and that was fine. It was kind of cool. It was the abilities that Wade Wilson had with the katana was pretty cool. But then he just like step it up for this movie, and I love the opening sequence of Deadpool fighting off all these bad guys, and how he says like, "Oh, this you might think this is a superhero movie. It's not. It's a love story." And I'm like, what is happening here? So you're just going through so many different like genre of movies, because then later on he's like, "Oh, you thought this was a love story? It's not. It's a horror story." And I'm like, again, we're just it's keeping you on your toes, and I think it was just a really well executed movie. And just like I feel that Hugh Jackman and it can be the only person that plays Wolverine. Robert Downey Jr. is the only person that can play Tony Stark, Iron Man. I think Ryan Reynolds is the only person that actually can ever play Deadpool and do it well.
Yeah, this is certainly the role he was born to play. And I agree with you in the same 3. Robert Downey Jr., like, whoever plays Wolverine next, whoever plays Iron Man, whoever plays Deadpool, and hopefully this is all in the very distant future. I kind of feel sorry for those people because they're going to have a hard time, being compared to those 3 actors we mentioned. But this film, for me, you're right. It's a groundbreaking superhero movie. Um, it's a bloody, raunchy action comedy with superheroes in it. So like this movie, the reason why it was so special, the reason why it's still so special is because it's so different. It's kind of a refreshing given, back in 2016, you didn't hear a ton of talk about superhero fatigue. Although a couple years after that, like even like 2018, you can look it up and there's headlines where people are citing superhero fatigue, just as like, Infinity War and Endgame are coming out, two of the biggest movies of all time. But this is before that. But this was also, you're right, this was a different kind of superhero film. And you're right, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. He's narrating the story to you. It's a non-linear story. The story is told out of order. Um, it's a really fun. It's just a very entertaining movie. And personally, it's in my top 10 superhero movies. Honestly, not to spoil Deadpool 2, but Deadpool 2 also is. Like these are two of my favorite movies of all time. And there's just like so much to it. Also, like for an origin movie, it's one of the better superhero origin films. I mean, what do you think about that, Brittany? I don't know that it's as good as Iron Man per se. It's more fun than Iron Man.
I think because the fact that it like you said, it's very groundbreaking. It really stepped outside of that formula of superheroes, and for many of us, it was very clean cut. Right, there wasn't like a whole lot of cussing that were in these superhero movies. There definitely wasn't these raunchy, very full on visuals, of acts and people's bodies and things like that. So I think for that alone is what makes it stand out. And in terms of origin stories, it's just you kind of think like this sort of I don't know why I kind of want to relate it to that of like Captain America, which I guess is where I'm getting that whole kind of clean cut,
Mhm.
sort of vibe. He's definitely one of our favorite Avengers here, and he stood for something. He stood for the little guy. He wanted to serve his country and do good, and he was given that opportunity to become a super soldier, and he does amazing things. It's not the case for Deadpool at all. Not saying
Right.
he didn't do good things. He's a mercenary basically, and I mean, we're gonna dive into it, of course, but like he wasn't a bad person. He's like a morally gray kind of person, which is like my favorite kind of person.
Mhm.
But the horrible things that he goes through in order to achieve superhero status, I guess you could say, is tough. Like it's tough for anybody to watch, whether you're a regular person or a mutant of sort, right? It's tough
Mhm.
because it's relatable. We all go through these sort of struggles of love and illness and trying to uh, get justice. It's tough. It's tough. So in terms of origin movies, I think it's very relatable
Mhm.
outside of the fantastic skills of of weapon wielding and fighting and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously people can do that. Um, but it's just breaking on so many levels, and for this to be the origin story of Deadpool, and then to just continue with greatness. I think that's why I'm so excited about Deadpool and Wolverine, because I cannot wait to see what we get from that.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you, and I think like the one thing about this movie when it came out, it was like refreshing because it was so different. And I feel like Deadpool Wolverine, even though it's going to be, you know, obviously similar to Deadpool and Deadpool 2, it's going to be refreshing also because it's going to be, 8 years later. We're kind of in a rut with a lot of these movies. I mean, I think me and you usually typically like a lot of these movies, but the general audience is kind of turned off to them. I do think that Deadpool Wolverine is going to do very well. I think this is going to be the biggest movie of the year, certainly of the summer. And I just think like this movie, like Deadpool, it just it's so fun and it's so funny, and the comedy is just kinda off the charts, and, just all of his interactions with literally every character, and, like, I have a bunch of notes and a bunch of jokes, and we're gonna go through some of them, but, like, honestly, it's really hard to do that in this podcast. I mean, we're gonna give it maximum effort like we always do, but, it's there's just so much. It's one of those movies where you kinda need to watch it a couple of times because
Yeah,
you're laughing so much that you'll miss one of the jokes or, just a little comment here and there. So, yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna pick it apart. We're gonna go into our favorite funny moments, favorite action scenes, all that good stuff. Brittany, you wanna go ahead
B-
and Go for it.
Well, before we really jump into it, Justin, I do want to take the opportunity to give a shout out to those who have been following us here on the Watchers in the Basement for quite some time. All the new followers that we have gained within the last month or so, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really just ecstatic that we've got so many new followers. We hope you like what we bring to you. If you haven't already done so and you're watching us here, whether live or on the replay, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a like, follow us on all our social media platforms. We'll cover that later. And so King B Johnson here says it made Deadpool. It made fun of rebuilt the X-Men franchise at the same time. It was the one that so many didn't know we all needed. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into some of the times where it made fun of the X-Men universe. I think that was some of the better parts of the film where they were able to kind of poke fun at what came before with the X-Men, with the mutants. Brittany, let's get into the cast. And obviously Ryan Reynolds, this is was his passion project for many years. I mean, really, what can you say about him that we haven't already said? But is there anything else you want to add about him in this role? Because I mean, I think everybody, it's kind of universal. He's so phenomenal as this character that he just nails it. Like it's perfect casting.
So I think for Ryan, I mean, what an honor for someone who has pitched this movie for quite some time, was really trying to get it off the ground and star in it, what have you. And yes, he had already been cast as Wade Wilson, Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Great. He wasn't terrible in that role either. Just the movie wasn't that great. However, the only other time I really saw Ryan Reynolds prior to this role was, I think, the movie Just Friends. So I knew he was funny. I knew he had great comedic timing. I knew he could have great chemistry with whomever he shared the screen. And that's amazing. I didn't realize just how physical this role was really going to be for him. We got a glimpse of it, of course, in X-Men Origins, but granted, of course, I'm sure he didn't do all the tricks and the flips and all that good stuff. But like,
No.
whatever we did see and whatever he does do in this role, I think is great. He looks fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. We see a lot of Ryan Reynolds in this movie. I'm not mad about it, but just the comedic wit that he has, the level of emotions that he shares throughout this whole movie, and to be able to just give us an amazing performance. I think it really made me appreciate him more as an actor outside of just the comedy. He can be serious, he can be funny, he can be kind of scary at times too, especially when he was still Wade and he was scaring the living shit out of that pizza guy in the beginning of the movie. So it was cool. He's got a great range.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely before this movie, he was definitely more known for his comedy. He was in several rom-coms, and then of course he started out on a show called Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place or something. It was on ABC. It was a short-lived sitcom.
Oh,
That was kind of like his
that.
first breakout kind of thing. But as King B Johnson mentioned, he's no stranger to superhero films. He was obviously in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He was also in Blade Trinity, which Blade 2 is referenced in this movie.
Yeah.
He was in Blade Trinity. He was also in Green Lantern, which, hot take by me, I don't think Green Lantern is that bad. Like, everyone trashes that movie. It's not great. It's not maybe even good, but like there's definitely worse superhero movies. I watched one this year, Madam Web. Way worse.
I still never seen it, so
I kind of like Green Lantern. It's not the best, but I don't know. It's not that bad.
Okay.
So
all right.
yeah, so
No
but
strangers to
obviously
superhero movies.
right, but then this movie obviously he takes it to the next level, and then of course, like I said, this summer Deadpool Wolverine is going to be massive. So
oh yeah,
he's found his lane. Also, he's a co-owner of the Wrexham Football Club. So Welcome to Wrexham on FX is also great. So check that out.
Also married to the one and only lovely Blake Lively, and I love their chemistry together. Just how much they bust on each other on social media is just great to see. Like he found his person. Like I know he was briefly married to Scarlett Johansson, before, but like he found his person in Blake Lively, and I just think that's just wonderful.
Yeah. His person in this movie, however, is played by Morena Baccarin. She plays Vanessa. And Brittany, they have like amazing chemistry, like
Oh,
off
it's
the
hot.
bat. Like honestly, like if you didn't know, you're like that's like a real couple. Like that's like they're
Yeah.
like you don't see that in superhero movies a lot where like the the love interests like just connect so
Yeah.
seamlessly. Um
Yes.
expound on
It's very rare, I think, when you can get that in a scene partner
it. Yeah.
that I think she's talked about her time in Deadpool, and I think she had some very uncomfortable moments, of course. I think being that vulnerable and some of the scenes itself that are sex related and otherwise, and I
Mhm.
get it. I totally would probably feel the same way, especially with someone I don't know, someone I'm expected to be incredibly intimate with on screen, but they themselves, if I didn't know any better, I would have believed that they were a thing in real life or had a fling if he wasn't married. You know what I'm saying? Like I totally believe it. And the sheer amount of care that her character invoked when Wade was diagnosed with cancer. And you see like that longing, that loving look on his face where the narration is, while Vanessa was trying to figure out plans A through Z, I was trying to memorize the curves of her face. Like that's just so romantic and that's just so sweet. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like I'm falling in love with this guy and I'm not even like, anywhere near him, right? So yeah, to see just how well they work together, and then for Vanessa to be equally pissed off towards the end of the movie and calling him out for his shit. She's like, you left, asshole. Like she
Yeah.
she was not holding back, okay? Which I absolutely love. And I think that's just a really good showcase of a loving relationship, right? You go through the highs and lows, and you have your moments of really difficult times, of course. And sometimes you just gotta tell someone off because I think they showed a really, I say, I will go out on a limb and say a healthy like relationship. It very much isn't for Wade Wilson's character, but I think that that relationship was very well performed on the silver screen.
Yeah, I love how the characters try to top each other with how their lives are worse, like,
Gosh,
they
yeah,
grew up with, putting cigarettes out on your skin, and it's like, that's I didn't know that's, like, that's where you put them out, like, or,
where
you know,
else?
I live in a crack house, it's like, "Oh, you live in a house," like, they were trying to compare who had the
Yeah.
rougher childhood, so I love that stuff,
Hmm.
yeah, no, Maria Baccarin is great in this role. She is also in Deadpool 2, kind of a briefer role. She's gonna be in Deadpool
Oof.
3 or Deadpool and Wolverine. Not sure how much she's gonna be in that movie, but she is gonna be in it. So that's cool to see her continue to play the character. So let's talk about the villain now. Either Skrein or Screen, I'm not sure. He plays Francis Freeman, aka Ajax. Now, Brittany, we're familiar with this actor because he was in Game of Thrones for a
He
little bit.
was.
Yep.
He was the first Dario Naharis
Yep.
who pledged his allegiance to Daenerys Targaryen, and then the next season it was a completely different guy, which I'm not mad about. I'm not
Yeah.
mad about. I absolutely love the second actor that replaced um, Ed and continued on. Funny enough, just a sidebar, that actor, that the second actor that played
Mhm.
Dario Naharis, went on to play the love interest of Blake Lively in The Age of Adeline.
Mm.
So it's kind of interesting how we're all kind of 6 degrees of separation, y'all. It's kind of interesting.
And
That's just a sidebar.
both the Dario Naharis actors went on to be in the movie, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon movie.
Ah, terrible movie.
I
Just
still haven't watched part 2. I'm saving it like a
no,
maybe like a fine wine. It'll age well, and in 30 years I'll
no,
watch it. But
no.
yeah,
It's good. We're not
it
here to
was
talk about that.
no, it was funny they were in that movie though, because
It was.
yeah.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
as far as this movie, I think he plays a great villain. I think like one
Yeah.
of the I mean, obviously this is not in the MCU. This is in the X-Men universe, the Fox universe before Marvel purchased it. But this villain is like up there with some of the better MCU villains, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think because of his nature and just how kind of that ego, of course, is just very apparent. And he, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of hard to describe him. I'm sure you're the word guy, as I so affectionately call you. But I, he plays the villain part so well. And we talk about this movie kind of being refreshing in the sense of superhero movies because it was so different. It was refreshing to see him portray a villain after seeing the little bit that we did of him in Game of Thrones, where he was very smart and very, kind of practical, and he has a badass side of him in Game of Thrones, but this was like a whole other level, right? And so him trying to do his experiments and doesn't like being challenged by Wade Wilson. And I mean, the scene itself where Wade finds out Ajax's true name, I mean, that just sets something off in Ajax altogether. By the way, his name is Francis. If you guys are not familiar, Uh, the whole gimmick of Francis is just amazing because you're hearing it throughout the whole movie. It's like, "Where's Francis?" And
Right.
he's, Deadpool is just like hacking these people off left and right, asking, "Where's your boss? Where's Francis?" And then at the very end, he sees Ajax, who's
Mm,
constantly saying, "What's my name?"
exactly.
He's taunting Deadpool throughout this whole movie. "What's my name? What's my name?" So at the very top of the helicarrier, which a great nod to the MCU, right? This was from which movie, Justin?
I'm sorry.
The helicarrier that was in
Helicarrier. Captain America,
the
the
Captain America.
Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Thank you. So the remnants of that destroyed helicarrier that Ajax is the top of, and he looks down at Deadpool and says, "What's my name?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna fucking spell out your name." And he does, with dead soldiers and their bodies spelling out Francis.
Yeah, no, that's a great moment in the movie, yeah. I do wanna point out, you mentioned the helicarrier. It's not specified that it's a Hydra helicarrier. It's just a random helicarrier because we all have them. Because,
Pretty
this
sure it's supposed to be from Captain
right, but
America,
they don't
though.
ever say that because they're different
Mm,
at the time, they were different companies who were competing
true.
against each other, yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay. It's the helicarrier from Captain America,
yeah,
people.
it certainly looks like one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, from the helicarrier to a guy that's hella funny. Well, what a transition
Ah,
that was. Yeah. Let's talk about TJ Miller. He plays Weasel. He is Wade Wilson's best friend. He also is the bartender. Um, TJ Wilson is very funny in this movie. He's very funny in the sequel. He will not be in Deadpool and Wolverine, however. Uh,
hmm.
he and Ryan Reynolds had kind of a falling out at some point.
Oh,
Um, so we won't be seeing the Weasel return in Deadpool and Wolverine. However, he's very good in this movie. A lot of funny stuff. What'd you think about TJ Miller?
you know, in and I say this with the absolute love and respect towards you, Justin.
Yeah.
The sardonic, dry sense of humor that he invokes reminds me of you at times. Just so
Oh no,
like dead.
he's funnier. Let's not be like this
Okay,
is
that's
funny. Yeah.
fine. That's fine. But like the deadpan delivery, I mean, because y'all, Justin and I work together outside of this podcast, right? We our full time jobs. We work together. We talk to each other all the time. Between him, Frank, George, and myself, I mean, we just have a great time because Justin's humor is just so like dry and just so like he's so quick on responses, and the delivery is like 10 out of 10 always. So that's why I'm saying like this guy reminds me so much of you in many conversations that we've had off the podcast.
Yeah.
But he is hilarious. Like when he first sees Deadpool after the experimentation,
Mm.
and he's like, "Oh, come on, show me. It can't be that bad." And he's like, "Oh my god!" It's like it's like it's like it's like an avocado had sex with the tropical lands of Utah. And I'm just,
No,
or
yeah.
whatever that line is.
No, you mixed them, but I can
Oh,
give I
sorry.
have them. Yeah. So he said, "You look
Sorry.
like an avocado had sex with an older, more disgusting avocado.
There it
Not
is.
gently. It was hate fucking. There was something wrong with the relationship. That was the only catharsis they could find without violence." then he said, and then he's like, they're talking about what Wade should do, and Wade decides he's going to hunt down uh, Francis, and
Francis.
but Weasel's idea is you should star in your own horror films because you look like Freddy Krueger face fucked a topographical map of Utah. So
There it is. There it is.
he's also the person who, he tells him he should wear a mask, not to hide his identity, but just to hide his face because it's so grotesque. He's like, you should wear a mask, a very thick mask, all the time. And he also helps with the name Deadpool because in the film, in the bar that he works in, they have a Deadpool, and Weasel put all his money on Wade dying. Joke's on him, Wade can't die, and so he mentions, "Well, I can't win the Deadpool now." And then Deadpool's the Deadpool name is born. But I love
Captain
how
Deadpool.
There you go, Captain
Like,
Deadpool.
no,
Yeah,
just Deadpool.
yeah. And then Weasel's like, Deadpool. That sounds like a fucking franchise. He's not wrong. It is. So,
and we cheers to that with the franchise.
yeah. Very good. Very, very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, he was great. I love also just because the environment that Weasel's in, the oh god, what's it called? St. Margaret's, St. Mary's. What's the bar that they're
Sister
at?
Margaret's, yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Just the camaraderie that all of these men have in the bar. I mean, they're fucking with each other. Wade goes and gives a a blowjob shot to some guy just to start a fight, see who's gonna win the Deadpool. And then even when Wade meets Vanessa for the first time, right? A big, heavy set bald guy with the beard, passes by and he, makes a pass at Vanessa. And Wade's like, "Hey, you better apologize." And she can stand up for herself. And she grabs the guy by the balls and she's like, "What was that, fat Gandalf?" I just died. This movie has so many great lines, like just from everyone as a whole. I mean, I love this movie. It's so great.
Yeah, so many great lines. As Yesenia points out before we move past the bar scene, Rob Liefeld, the Deadpool creator, he is one of the patrons in the beginning of the movie. So,
oh my god, is he?
Yeah, I just want to point that out as kind of like an Easter egg thing.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then also, in the strip club scene, Stan Lee, of course, is very recognizable. He's the strip club DJ. So,
I want to know whose idea that was. If it was the director's or if it was Stan. He's like, put me in the scene where the titties are.
So I've read that that's one of his favorite, not surprisingly, it's one of his favorite cameos in all the Marvel movies he's been in. His only complaint is that he wasn't with the quote unquote girls for enough time. So, yeah. So anyway.
What a dirty old man. May you rest in peace.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So moving down the cast, we have Gina Carano as Angel Dust. Now, obviously, we've seen Gina Carano in Star Wars. She was in The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. This obviously was before The Mandalorian. I think this is a better role for her as just like the heavy, the muscle. Like I think she doesn't have a ton of lines, but I think she does well in this character.
Yes. Was this before or after she appeared in Fast and Furious?
Ooh.
Because I think it's around the same time. I want to say maybe it was after Fast 6,
probably so,
or Furious 6, or whatever it's called. But I think it was around the same time.
Yeah,
I liked her in both those movies. I even liked her in The Mandalorian. I think it's cool that she does her stunts, right, and she was kind of badass in this movie, even though she is also part of Francis' bad guy team. And that whole scene with Colossus and fighting him, because it seems like particularly Deadpool cannot take out Colossus, right? His whole body is solid, just completely solid. She, Angel Dust, was like the only one who could throw a punch and it land and knock him out and what have you. It was cool. It was cool to see. I did enjoy her part in this movie.
Yeah. We also got to see her do a superhero landing, which Deadpool was happy to
Superhero
call
landing.
out. Yeah.
Superhero landing.
He was like,
So great.
they all do it. It's really bad on the knees. It's not
So bad on the
practical. Yeah.
knees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they all do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, this was yeah,
So good.
good role for her in this movie.
Yeah, I
Um
agree.
yeah.
Definitely agree.
Moving on, let's talk about the Negasonic teenage warhead played by Brianna Hildebrand, who
What a
um
name.
she has
Both of
some
it.
yeah, exactly. She has some great back and forth with Wade Wilson.
hmm Yeah, this again, I don't think I've come across a movie, not that I've seen many Ryan Reynolds movies, I'm sad to say. I don't feel like I've come across a movie where Ryan has not had a great screen partner and just like they totally vibe and they can just feed off each other's energy and just deliver some amazing lines, amazing performance. And this is no exception, right? The two of them, you know, bantering against one another from the first moment that they meet to the last moment that they see each other. And one of my favorite lines from him after she says to him in the end, like, "Oh, you know, you're cool," and he goes, "Oh, what in the ass? Like that wasn't mean. That was nice." Like,
Yeah.
it's just so funny. But yeah, they had they were great together. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to keep saying this pretty much just about everything throughout this movie because I really love this movie, and I think
Yeah.
overall everyone did well with working with one another. And um, I'm sure Justin, while you're talking, it's going to jog something else in my brain um, to expand on this particular subject.
Yeah. No, I love their you kind of touched on this a little bit there when they first meet each other on the bridge, and Colossus is with Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and she meets or Wade meets her for the first time. She says her name. He's like Negasonic Teenage. What the shit? Like that's funny.
Like that's
Then
the
he's
coolest name ever.
yeah, and then he tells her he's like Zip It Sinead, which is obvious reference to Sinead
Sinead
O'Connor
O'Connor.
because of her, she has her short hair, which he references at the very end also,
Yeah.
about nothing compares to you. And then I love her retort right there because as Deadpool's talking to Colossus and to Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she needs a shorter name, by the way. Maybe we need to give her an acronym or something. When he's talking to them, he's got his back to Francis, who's handcuffed on the bridge. Francis gets away. Negasonic Teenage Warhead's trying to warn him, and he's telling her, zip it, Sinead, and then like, hey, douche pool. The way she said that is very funny. That's a funny line. I love their back and forth. We see more of that in the second movie
Yeah.
when Yukio from like we said last week, the
Mhm.
Wolverine's Yukio. Well, not that version, but that
Not that
character
version.
continues in Deadpool too. But
Yeah.
no, I think she's great in this movie, and her power set is also really cool. Like she's a very powerful character.
Mhm.
Maybe more powerful than Colossus. I don't know.
Her costume's cool too. I like
Yeah,
the jumpsuit. I've said this once before already when we talked about X-Men. I'm kind of partial to the jumpsuits that the X-Men wear in X-Men X2, X-Men Last
yeah,
Stand. I of course love the animation costumes as well. You know, it's true to the comics. But I like what her costume looks like, especially when she unleashes her powers to fight off the bad guys in the end of the movie. The other part too, where Deadpool comes to the mansion, right? Because Colossus is trying to recruit uh,
yeah,
Deadpool to be part of the X-Men, and um, he shows up to the mansion, and it's Negasonic who opens the door, and he before Deadpool walks away, he's like, yeah, I'll just wait out here. He goes, it's funny how it's like always, it's this big mansion, it's just you two here. It's like the studio couldn't get enough money to get the Rex another X-Man or something like
right.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's the time when she opens the door and he's like, "Ripley from Alien 3." And she's like, "You're so old." Yeah. Yeah, no,
Ah, yes,
it's
it's so
great.
good. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Great back and forth the whole time we see them together.
hmm
Moving on to the cast, let's talk about Colossus. I think he looks great in this movie. Obviously, he has a
Yes.
Russian accent as opposed to what, in the previous what he was in like what, 3 of the previous movies, the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
He was a big dude, but he wasn't like, this metal, 8 foot tall, or whatever.
He was an X2
He
because
was an X2 for sure, yeah.
he helps the students escape the mansion when Stryker and his team are coming for them.
Right.
Yeah, because we get to see him like in normal flesh, and then the mutation takes over, and he becomes Colossus. It's cool. That was a cool transition.
Yeah.
But to see a complete CGI
Mhm.
Colossus in this movie was really fun for me personally. I think that was cool. I love the scene on the bridge where he handcuffs Deadpool after he tries and fails to take a punch or to knock out Colossus, right? Breaks both hands and the foot and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So he's just kind of dragged on the floor and his arms raised because he's handcuffed to Colossus, and Colossus is like, come, we'll take you to the professor, and it's like Deadpool, McAvoy or Stewart. He goes,
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, that's another great call. You mentioned a couple of the great, like, shots of the X-Men universe, which
Uh,
good point.
so
It's like
good.
with these timelines, it's very confusing. But speaking about that part where Deadpool breaks both of his wrists punching Colossus, and then he breaks his foot trying to do it, and I love how, like, when he breaks his hands, or when he breaks his wrists, his hands are dangling, he's like oh, good. One of the funniest lines, he's like, "All the dinosaurs feared the T-Rex."
Because
And
he's
then
like this.
yeah, and, then which this is a familiar thing where Colossus is like, "Don't you have did you ever shut up? Don't you have an off switch?" He's like, "Yeah, it's right next to the prostate, or is that my on switch?" I I love
I
that. And
mean,
then
this movie is so graphic because that's
yeah,
on the heels of him being shot through
yeah,
up through Main Street, as
right,
Deadpool put it.
right,
Shot through the butt. So
yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, how this scene ends is Deadpool cuts his wrist off to get out of the
and
handcuffs, and then
ends with this
yeah, with the middle finger left, Colossus is left holding the middle
extended.
finger, yeah. Um, just I mean, this is such like a it's just such a crazy movie. Like, I
It's
can't
so
imagine, like,
fun.
me as a kid, like, when I saw, like, Batman '89, I would have never
Yeah.
thought that these kind of movies would evolve from I mean, Batman '89 was a great movie at the time, and obviously it's
Hmm.
still, one of the first, like, modern superhero movies, but to go from, like, that to this Deadpool movie, which is just batshit crazy, like,
Yes.
it's pretty incredible to see, like, the progression.
And something that Yesenia here in the chat mentioned earlier, that she loves that this movie came out on Valentine's Day, which I actually, did forget up until,
Yeah,
of course, we were doing this pod, and it's like it's not something, it's not what you think it is,
right.
and I mean it lives up to it like through and through. It's even better than what I ever thought it would ever be. So, I mean, I yeah, it's just the characters, the casting, the whole storyline itself. I love how to Deadpool like references the guy that was recruiting him to Ajax's
Yeah,
experiment or his laboratory. He kept referring to him as Agent Smith, and I'm like,
yeah.
good God, this is
Yeah, the
so many puns in this movie.
yeah, the Agent Smith stuff, especially when he first meets him, it's great because he's like, Wade Wilson walks up to him, he's like, "How can I help you besides luring children to a panel van?" And then, he basically the guy's like, he's like, "What if we could make you better than better? We could make you a superhero." And, Wade's like, "No, not interested.
No.
If I ever hit fuck it, I'll look you up." And he's like, "You're within 500 yards of a school. You may want to scurry away." So I just,
Yeah, and
yeah, go for it.
even when he finally catches up to Agent Smith to get the information he needs to locating Francis. When Agent Smith, I don't know why we keep calling him Agent Smith. I mean, that's not his name, but
I
he
don't think the
he
character actually has a name. I think he's just a recruiter for
yeah, okay.
Ajax. Yeah,
We're gonna call him Agent Smith because it's
yeah,
just fun. But when he realizes who he's up against, because of it was 41 confirmed kills. Now it's 89, about to be 90. He's like, Mr. Wilson? And it's like, "Ah, and then Wade, or Deadpool, like, turns to the camera. We're breaking fourth wall here, people.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, but before, you're gonna wanna look away." And so the camera moves away and you see the reactions of the people behind Deadpool, and
Yeah.
it did not end well. I mean,
No.
so you can only imagine. You can only
Yeah.
imagine. But we
Yeah.
saw some fucked up stuff on how Deadpool was trying to take out all of Francis's people. The Zamboni guy.
Yeah.
He was struggling with whether or not to kill the females that were
Right.
that were
Yeah.
present.
Yeah. He's like, is it sexist if I hit you, or is it more sexist if I don't?
I
Like,
don't like,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's great
Uh,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Yesenia here. I love that she's in the chat. Thank you so much
Oh
for
yeah,
being here
we're
today,
definitely
Yesenia.
getting Dopinder. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Dopinder because he's another favorite in this whole series, and I do want to just take the time to remind everyone that if you're watching us live, thank you so much for being here. Leave a comment here in the live chat so we can give a shout out, ask us your questions. Rahib, I did see you earlier. We're gonna come back to your question shortly, but just a reminder: hey, subscribe to the Watchers in the Basement. Takes like 1 second. Click that button.
Yeah, we would very much appreciate it. But taking the recommendation from Yesenia, let's talk about Dopinder because
Yep,
this is one of my favorite characters.
I love him.
He's great in this movie. He's even better in the next one. We're not going to spoil Deadpool 2, but
Yeah.
there's a line in that movie that's like I think about this line all the time when I think about a certain actress who played in the Spider-Man series. But we'll get to that next time. Um,
Okay.
yeah, just kind of a little tease.
Gotcha.
And once you watch Deadpool 2 again, you'll pick up on it right away. But yeah, so
Okay.
Dopinder is the taxi driver who becomes Deadpool's friend. His funny storyline is the fact that he's lost his true love Gita to his cousin Bundu, who is what is it? He's like I mean, obviously he's his romantic rival, but he is
Not an honorable man.
yeah,
He's
he's like
just
as unhonorable as he is as handsome, and I don't think Bundu makes it to Deadpool 2. I'll put it that way.
given the state that we presumably have found him in, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah, I love Defender. He's just very sweet and just happy go lucky kind of guy. And he's driving Deadpool to the bridge scene, and their interaction was wonderful because Deadpool climbs from the back seat to the front seat, and they have this lovely conversation. And I love when he asks for payment. He's like, "That'll be 27, whatever, whatever." He's like, "Oh, I don't carry cash, or I don't carry a wallet when I'm working, but I can give you a crisp high five." And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just wonderful. And then the same thing later on when Deadpool has finally located Francis, and he gets his gun bag, which is a Hello Kitty bag, and leaves it behind in the taxi cab. All which I'm jumping around people, but uh, it's here where Dopinder reveals some of what Wade or Deadpool had told him to do about winning Gita back, and this is in front of Colossus and Negasonic, and it's very extreme. It's very Deadpool sort of thing, and Deadpool's like, "I did not tell you to do any of that. I'm so proud of you. Like, you
Right.
go back and put uh um
Yeah.
Bundu back where he belongs. Kill him."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's like, and you win back Gita's heart the right way.
Yeah.
Kidnap her. Like, it's just so wonderful. I love it. It's so twisted.
Yeah. No, it's great. Once again, Dopinder's great in this movie. He's even better in Deadpool 2, and we'll get to that some point next month when we do our rewatch review of that movie. But moving on to another Deadpool friend, let's get to his roommate, Blind Al.
I
Who
love Al.
Blind Al, an older lady who he meets at the laundromat. He's trying to wash the blood out of his suit, and she's telling him like,
His white sweatshirt or his
white
hoodie.
sweatshirt. Yeah, she's like, use seltzer water and lemon, or wear red, dumbass.
And then when the camera cuts back to her later,
Yeah.
when Deadpool reveals that he's living with her, you remember Al from the laundromat, and then it cuts away. She's like, "God, I miss cocaine." It's like, what? The
Uh,
scene of a blind woman trying to build IKEA furniture.
yeah. But them talking about the IKEA furniture, like the different kinds of, the
Yes,
different names for it, the Kulin or whatever, and the
Kulin.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a funny like if you've been to IKEA, like you just have to kind of experience it to really get the
Oh
gist
yes,
of that. But
yes.
great stuff.
Like,
And but
I was just gonna say the scene of the two of them on the couch when
yeah,
Deadpool's hand is slowly, growing back after he, of course, sawed it off, and he's, he's kind of, gently, just running his fingers across Al's chin, and she's like, "Is your hand really small?" He goes, "About the size of a
KFC
what
spork.
restaurant?
Yeah,
KFC spork."
yeah,
And she's, giving him some kind of solid advice about
yeah,
Vanessa, like, "Hey, you need to go find this girl. You need to tell her how you feel. Like, you just need to put it out there." And he's, refusing to, right? And it leads into a very inappropriate joke about, it's gonna feel really big in this hand. And he's like,
yeah.
"Go, go, 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 go,
Right.
go." God. Al is wonderful. And I love the scene too where they're locating all the guns hidden around the apartment. And she's not willing to give up the one that's like in her sock or something like that.
Right.
To which Deadpool then says to her, "Somewhere in this house is how many kilos of cocaine
Like
next to?"
116 or something. Yeah.
He goes, "Next to the cure for blindness."
Good
That's
luck. Yeah.
that's a great Easter egg for Deadpool
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So I love how they came back and referenced that in the sequel. So,
Yeah.
but Al is fantastic. Again, she works so well with Ryan Reynolds
Yeah.
throughout this movie.
No, she really does. And I do love also how, like you said, she's trying to convince him to go find Vanessa, and he
Mhm.
doesn't want to because obviously his face is, he's been put through all this kind of torture to get the mutant gene to
Yeah,
to react.
yeah.
And so his face, he kind of looks like a burn victim a little bit, and he's afraid to
What are you
confront
talking
Vanessa.
about? It's an avocado that had sex with an uglier avocado.
Well, yeah, right. But, she's telling him, like, "Looks aren't everything," and he's like, "Looks are everything." He's like, "Have you ever heard David Beckham speak?" He's like, "It's like he mouth sexed a can of helium." He's like, "You think Ryan Reynolds got this far in his superior acting method?" Which I do love this because there are so many references to Ryan Reynolds. There are many references to Hugh Jackman. There's a couple to Wolverine. There's a couple to
Yes.
Green Lantern. I love how, like, that continues in Deadpool 2 also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no stone left unturned for the amount of jabs that Ryan, the writers, everyone who was involved in the development of this movie, gloves are off, right? Especially in the beginning when we first see Deadpool like hanging out on the bridge waiting for the convoy to pass, and he's over here like coloring and what have you, and he's like, "Oh, I bet you're wondering, how I was able to get like a solo film." And he starts doing the Australian impersonation
Yeah.
of that is Hugh Jackman, and basically saying, he goes, "Well, I can't tell you what's the line, Justin? I'm sure you have it."
Yeah, he's
Um,
like he's like, "Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?" He's
there
like,
you
"I
go.
can't tell you, but it rhymes with Pulverine. And let me tell you, he's got a nice pair of smooth criminals down
Got
under."
a nice pair of
Yeah,
smooth criminals down there.
down under, yeah. Yeah.
Down under, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I that's a great moment in the movie. There's just so many in this movie. And, one of the things I
I
really
yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, one of the things I really love about this movie is the use of music.
Yes.
This movie used music so well, whether it's in the opening scene or the opening montage where There's that 80s song, Angel of the Morning is playing,
Mhm.
that movie, that
Just
song's
call me angel.
yep,
Yeah.
that's playing. I love, later on when
DMX, man.
yeah, the DMX, yeah, X gonna give it to you. Yeah, that's awesome whenever they're going into battle. You got the part where
Mhm.
you mentioned before, he's like sitting on the uh on the overpass. His feet are dangling and Shoot by Salt and
It
Pepper is
was.
playing. Yeah.
Yep.
Which fun fact, I have met the current drummer for Salt and Pepper. So
Oh,
what
yeah,
a
you I forgot
what
about that.
what a weird world we live in. But
Very.
anyway, that's funny. The Shoop song. Um
And then you've got, you know, Wham!
yeah, and
with
Wham.
with the exclamation point.
Yeah, because he said, that album was where they earned the exclamation point. So
Mhm.
love that. Love the
I'm never
Chicago
gonna
song.
dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm.
Yeah. No, I mean that
Insane.
so much music that is used in this movie to really like, add to it. And that continues also in Deadpool
Yes,
2. And
for sure.
I'm sure we'll continue on in Deadpool and Wolverine. So
So
looking
looking
forward
forward
to
to it.
that. Yeah. I mean,
If
even
they're
the
able
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if they're somehow able to get Wolverine to sing, because Hugh Jackman is quite the showman, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I can
I
leave this world happy.
wouldn't be surprised.
If there's,
S-
like, a musical scene between
Yeah.
Wolverine and Deadpool,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
Well,
It'd be
speaking
great.
of Hugh Jackman, let's talk about how during the scene you referenced earlier where they're getting all the guns together, putting it in the gun bag. The one other thing he adds is Hugh Jackman's Sexiest Man Alive People magazine cover, which later on we see that whenever Vanessa unmasks Deadpool, he's got he's got Hugh Jackman's face,
Yep,
paper cutout over his face.
he sure does. It's so funny. It's just
Yeah,
it's so good. I mean, and also too, this plays out into real life between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. They're really, really good friends
yeah,
in real life. Like if you follow them on social media, particularly Twitter, their back and forth is just great. Like they roast each other all the time, and it's in such good humor, and they just have a great time. So I think for Ryan to have put so many jokes referencing Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and like X-Men and all that stuff. And then it like, you kind of manifested it into the universe. And now we're gonna get Deadpool, Wolverine. I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. I
yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah, and it's kinda interesting the way it kinda turned out because this movie, all the references to Hugh Jackman and Wolverine, obviously Deadpool 2, there are more references. It kind of like was heading toward Deadpool and Wolverine, whether it was gonna be at 20th Century Fox or now
Yeah.
with Disney in the MCU. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I can't wait for that movie. I can't wait to
Same.
see Deadpool and Wolverine. 6 weeks away. I'm gonna see that movie multiple times. I already have tickets to see it 3 times that opening weekend, so
My
I
God.
I will be
Making the rest
watching
of us
that
look
movie.
bad.
I'm gonna be very prepared for our review the following
Oh yeah.
Monday or Tuesday or whatever day we finally get a chance to review the movie, so can't
Mhm.
wait for that. But let's stick with this movie for now. Brittany, one of the best action scenes in the movie, and maybe one of the best action scenes I think I've ever seen, is the 12 bullet scene.
Yes.
What'd you think about that? Why don't you break that down for us?
I don't think I've ever seen so detailed up until that scene. That whole sequence was incredibly detailed, and also too the fact that that sort of cinematography has been carried on throughout the Deadpool movies, I think is great.
Mm,
And the attention to detail on the back of the bullet. I say back. I don't know anything about guns or bullets or things like that. But it's
like the
it's
casing, I
etched
guess.
into
Yeah.
casing. Yeah, I guess it's etched into every single one of them. And so, he's limited to how many bullets he can use to kill these people, and comes up with incredibly creative ways. And then he kind of gets a little carried away because he gets pissed and like wastes two or three bullets on one guy. He's like bad Deadpool, and then someone else comes by and he shoots and kills him. He's like, "Good Deadpool."
Yeah. Yeah. Or,
So they
the
end up,
guy that shot him in the ass, he's like, he shoots him like 4 times. He's like, "Stupid, worth it," like
yeah. I mean, just the change that he's like,
yeah.
"Stupid, worth it."
Yeah.
Like, just like split personality or disorder kind of situation. And then at the very end, the final bullet that he has,
Mm.
um, very creative way of using that bullet to try and take down 3 people all at once. He
Yeah.
jumps over the car and he does like a horizontal spin, and aims perfectly, and the bullet shoots through, first guy, second guy, and then it gets embedded in the skull, or the forehead of the third guy, who gets up and takes it out, and he
Yeah.
fights Deadpool. But yeah, it was really creative. It was, I mean, just from the jump from, I don't, no pun intended, with Deadpool jumping from the rail of the bridge down
Mhm.
to the SUV, and fighting them off while they're all in the car, and it was incredibly creative, incredibly detailed, and it totally worth it. What a way to start a movie. Like, you knew you were in for a good time based on that, because it was most definitely setting the tone.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. It definitely did. And, one of the great things about Deadpool, obviously he has guns, he has katana swords, but he's so acrobatic. Like
Oh yeah.
his fighting style is very, very visual. It's very like made for cinema, made for the movies. So and then
And
the 12
to
bullet scenes,
capture
like
it in slow mo too. Yeah, it was cool.
yeah, the slow-mo opening scene is great. The 12 bullets scene, these are some of the best action scenes, not only in this movie, but just in any movie.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. The final fight with, Francis at the end
Mhm.
is pretty strong, like, really, I mean, this movie is kind of like bulletproof. And I mean, obviously, so is, Wade Wilson, although, I mean, the bullets go through him, but he
No,
can
he's not bulletproof. He just can't
no, but
die.
he heals fast,
He
though.
does. He
One
does.
of the things about this movie, which, I mean, this isn't really an Easter egg, but one of the things I forgot when I noticed, when I rewatched this movie recently was, the part where he has a Deadpool action figure from,
Mhm.
Wolverine, or,
Origins.
yeah, or X-Men Origins Wolverine, where
Yep.
it's, with
Yep.
the katana blades coming out of his hands, and I
Mhm.
wonder, like, is that a real figure, or was that made for this movie? I think it was probably made for this movie. I bet they didn't
I
have
wa
figures.
I wanna say there's some truth behind the figurine. I just don't know how mass produced it may have been, but I think
Yeah,
it's a real figure. I don't
okay.
think it was created solely for, um I don't think
Yeah,
it was created solely for the movie.
I mean, nowadays, they probably made it because it's become like it's like a
Right,
special deal, because it was like,
right.
but I wonder back then if they actually made that figure. They probably did. I don't remember seeing that ever
Truthfully,
anywhere.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah. I will
but
say that for what this movie is, like, the storytelling,
mhm.
albeit it starts in a, like, kinda, like, midway through Deadpool's life, and you're going backwards, and then you're kind of, just kind of going back and forth. You're bouncing around a little bit, but it's extremely good storytelling, and I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
what's really made this movie successful. I mean, aside from the humor, the violence, the uh, everything, it overall has told an extremely good story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Yesenia points out about using the bodies to spell out Francis. Yeah, we mentioned that a little
Yeah,
bit earlier, but yeah, that is one of those things where you're like, "Wow, that's amazing. I've never seen that in a movie before."
I because we're talking about this again. The letter I, was that guy's head decapitated to make
I
the dot on the I?
I believe so. I believe so. It's also like why it was like a wide shot, aerial,
And why
so
was he bare ass? Like, you know?
who knows? Who knows?
Oh, goodness.
Um,
So
I want to
crazy.
hit on some funny moments before we get out of here.
Mhm.
I love when Wade meets Vanessa and at the bar, and he's like, "What's a nice place like you doing in a girl like this?" I like how he mixes it up.
Mhm.
I also love
Yep.
when on their date they go play skee ball, and I love playing skee ball also. I've never
Mhm.
like thrown a skee ball like a baseball at the hole. What are your thoughts on that?
love skee ball. I know
Yeah.
there have been times
But,
that
like,
we all like,
overhand throwing at the skee ball, like, that's new.
I'm gonna go try it out the next time I go skee ball. Just saying. There's a main event close to me. I
Yeah.
think they have skee ball. I'm gonna go try. I won't let you down. I promise.
Dave and Buster's, watch out. Yeah.
Dave and Buster's. I was just gonna say because we all used to go out, group outings, and
Yeah.
Dave and Buster's was one of the places. Um, yeah, I mean, fun date. Given that he had to pay to get 48 minutes of said date. But hey, shout out to Wade Wilson for achieving his life's dream of getting a Voltron ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was cool.
Also, another great use of music is when they play Calendar Girl while Wade and Vanessa are having sex throughout the year and celebrating the different holidays. That's a great moment. Um,
Terrible, but yes, I do love the song. I love Paul Anka. That's a
right.
great song. Or is
I
it Neil
love
Sedaka?
Neil Sedaka.
Neil
Yeah.
Sedaka. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like when Wade proposes with a ring pop. She's like, "Where was that ring? Where were you keeping that?" And it's like, "You didn't have
Bare
pockets."
ass.
Yeah. And
Bare
and then he kind of gets behind her, he's holding her as they're in bed, and he's like, "What if I just held on, never let go?" And she's like, "Just ride a bitch's back like Yoda on Luke." And he's like, "Oh, Star Wars jokes." And then she's like, corrects him. She's like, "It's Empire."
Empire.
And he's like, "Jesus Christ, it's like I made you in a computer." Which I have a bone to pick about that because, like, he knows it's Empire Strikes Back. He's saying it's like a Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
And she's like hyper specific about it. It's like, "Hey, lady, like we
I
know,
I think it's a partner's way of showing that, like, I know your interests, I know the specifics, and
yeah,
I like the things that you like, and I can name the specific, just
right."
to show how much I love you. So it's just a way of showing affection.
One of my underrated kind of funny moments in this movie, and I'd forgotten about this until I rewatched it this week, was, he learns about how he has this late stage cancer, which of course is awful. And
Mhm.
there's one night where he wakes up and he's like thinking about things and he's kind of crying. And she wakes up, she's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I had a Liam Neeson nightmare. I dreamt that I kidnapped his daughter and he wasn't having it." He's like, "They made 3 of those movies." He's like, "At some point you have to wonder if he's just a bad parent." I love that comment. Like, I like how,
Valid.
like, he just made that up to cover for the fact that he's crying, but then he continues it and turns it into, like, this funny, like, observational humor on the
Mhm.
Taken franchise. So, I
Mhm.
don't know, I love that stuff.
Yesenia here in the chat, she writes Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada rhymes with fun.
Right.
And this is another thing in the movie. At some point, I think when Wade either gets shot or he gets stabbed, I can't remember the specific, but he's like, "Oh, Canada!" And I'm
Right.
like, that's like the anthem for Canada because Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds is Canadian.
Yeah.
So I those references that are sprinkled in throughout all the Deadpool movies, not just this one, I think is great.
Yeah.
Because it's like he doesn't take himself that serious, right? Ryan Reynolds as a person doesn't take himself that serious. That's why he can poke fun at him, so that no one else can. Like
Yeah.
I respect that. So
Yeah. I like when he first meets Francis, who he's known as Ajax, and he's asking him what his real name is, and he's like, "Is it Mitch the Rickster?" He's like, "Basil Fawlty?" He does like this British accent. Like, I love that.
he's like Ajax. He got the name off cleaning
Yeah,
supplies or something.
soap tub or
Cleaning
whatever.
soap.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's so I mean, this is a movie where it's just like you have to rewatch it just to get all the humor of it because
Yeah,
it's just nonstop, bam, bam, bam.
it
Um,
really is. It really truly is. I mean, even one sort of sequence we kind of glossed over or really haven't even talked about is after Wade has been mutated. He's been in that tank.
yeah,
The mutation finally took place, and then he strategically was able to get the what do you call it, Justin? the match, the
Right.
match
He
out
got
of
the match
Andy's
from Angel Dust as her mouth. Yeah.
mouth, and he's able to set fire to the laboratory and has a one-on-one with Ajax, and you get to see all of Ryan Reynolds in his glory. I mean, my God. I mean, okay, you've been mutated. Your body is fighting off the cancer as fast as the cancer is trying to rebuild, and you're fighting a guy naked. And then you have like what do you call the rod that stabbed him in the back that like
Like
held him down to the floor?
rebar maybe or something.
Rebar. Thank you. I
Yeah.
couldn't think of the word. Damn, that was wild. Like that
Yeah.
was intense. And then to see Ajax himself, because I don't at that point I don't think we really saw how strong he was up
Mhm.
until you saw him bend that rod to keep Wade in place. Wild, wild.
Yeah, I mean, as funny as this movie is, it's just as violent. It really
Oh
is.
yeah,
Like it's not super bloody though. It's more like I guess there's some blood, but it's more um
it's more so on
yeah,
Deadpool than anything.
right. Right. He takes the brunt of a lot of the abuse.
Hmm.
Of course, obviously the torture for, a good 10-minute span in the movie where he's just getting hit with everything. Um
Yeah, yeah.
so let's
What?
talk about go ahead.
Oh no, I'm good.
No, I was just gonna mention, let's talk about so the credits are animated, which I thought that was kind of a cool way that, later on, Spider-Man, what was it, No Way Home, or I guess Spider-Man Homecoming, which came out a little bit after this, had animated credits also.
They did.
Shazam
It was
did
very
something similar.
school-like.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
I appreciate the effort. I thought it was pretty funny, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
Um, but let's get to the post credit because in the post credit, Deadpool imitates the post credit scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which, before the MCU, the Ferris Bueller's Day Off uh, post credit scene was one of the most famous post credit scenes in all of movie history. So I like how he basically just
parodies it.
parodies it, and
Hmm.
then he mentions that by the way, Cable's going to be in the sequel. We haven't cast him yet, but we're hoping the studio has enough money left to make that happen. He makes the joke. He's like, "What are you expecting? Samuel L. Jackson to show up with an eye patch and a little saucy leather number on?" Thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I almost forgot about that post credit, and I think it's great because he's still in the costume, and then it's a very recognizable house, and of course the whole bathrobe is to me is very iconic. I mean, growing up and watching Ferris Bueller as much as I have, like it's easy to spot on. So I love all the references. I love the fact that again, poking fun at others, poking fun at himself, poking fun at other franchises, I think is just great.
Yeah, he does all that stuff, and that's just kind of that's what Ryan Reynolds does in this movie with this character,
Hmm.
and we get more of that in Deadpool too, and I'm looking forward to talking about that when we get to it um, in a few weeks.
Yes,
I guess the
very
last thing I
excited.
wanted to mention is I almost forgot about this. I love how the way the movie ends with Deadpool has Francis dead to rights, got a gun to him, and Colossus, who trying to the whole movie, Colossus is trying to get Deadpool to join the X Men, which Deadpool refers to as his boy band, and
Yeah,
he's telling him he's like don't do it. He's like 4 or 5 moments, and Deadpool's like, what? Come again? And he explains it only takes 4 or 5 moments of
or
your life,
5 moments.
right, to become a hero. And he's just droning on. And then before he can finish, we hear the gunshot. Deadpool, kills
Francis,
Francis, and that's it. But
and
I
then
love
Colossus
how
like vomits.
yeah.
What is he vomiting when he's in that state? Like I don't understand.
Well, I mean, the guy next to him had his brains blown out. So
That's true.
I can see where that might turn your stomach a little bit. Um,
A little bit, a
yeah.
little bit.
So is there anything we didn't mention, Brittany, that you want to talk about?
I think we've covered a good amount of that is Deadpool. I mean, this was a great starter for the Deadpool franchise that we have all come to know and hopefully all love as well. I do want to go back to here in the chat from Rakib. Two questions. If
Okay.
you were in Deadpool, which character would you like to play? So Justin, I'm going to throw that to you first. If you were in
Well,
Deadpool, which character
I
would you like to
mean,
play?
the easy answer is Deadpool. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Deadpool, right? Like, I
Yeah.
definitely would want to be Deadpool. That'd be awesome. But I think we
Hmm.
have to take Deadpool out of it, right? I think you have to be a Deadpool like adjacent character, someone in the Deadpool
Yeah.
universe. Man, that makes it tougher.
Yeah, it does. It does. I know I definitely would not want to be Vanessa, given how we first meet her and getting left behind right by Wade.
Mhm.
I definitely would. I would probably just want to be like an X-Men of some kind that makes
Yeah,
an appearance in Deadpool. Maybe not necessarily Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
yeah.
That's just a mouthful to say. But having some sort of like mutation, some sort of power, some sort of um, something in
Yeah.
order to warrant being in this movie. Definitely don't want to be killed by Deadpool either, because
No.
it's not going to be clean. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful.
Yeah, I think I'd be like one of the mercenaries at the bar, but I'd be the guy who winning the
Ooh,
Deadpool because I would like, me, I'm competitive with those kind of game stuff. I'd be trying to win the Deadpool.
just a
Yeah.
little competitive between you and George. Yes, I absolutely could
Yeah.
see that between the both
Yeah.
of y'all.
Yeah.
Uh, Another question from Raheem Justin: from 1 to 10, what would you rate this film?
Oh, this is a 10 for me. This
Yeah,
is a 10. This is one of, like
this
I
is a 10.
said, there's been a ton of superhero movies. I think about this all the time of like what's my personal top 10. Both
Mhm.
the Deadpool movies are my personal top 10. And
Yeah,
you know, maybe I'll have to make some room, but I anticipate Deadpool and Wolverine being in the top 10 also. So,
yeah.
it's a 10 for me. Brittany, what about for you?
Oh, absolute 10. I mean, as
Yeah.
soon as the movie began and you're seeing just the opening credits and you're seeing just the very visual, the very violent uh ways these characters are being handled, I'm like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And like I knew I was in the right spot. I knew I was in the right spot because I I don't know why I'm out of focus. Hello, people. But I knew that I was going to just like enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Um, because of how comedic it seemed, how violent it was going to be, and I don't know why I'm so out of focus. Please ignore me and my crazy eyes
There
right
you're
now.
back. There we go. Yeah.
There we go. We're back. So yeah, like there's no other way. Like this movie is a 10, like hands
Yeah.
down, 10. Love the origin story. Um, loved everything about it. Like I don't have anything bad to say about it. This and that's the rarity because I'm always like nitpicking movies after I've seen them. Like I start researching and I start like trying to find goofs and I'm not saying this movie is without flaws, per se. It's not enough for me to like speak negative about it. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think this movie is pretty flawless. I mean, I don't know what you would change about it, honestly. Even the runtime
Yeah.
is good, 150, an hour, 50 minutes. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
nice
Yeah.
runtime. It's an easy movie to rewatch because it's so entertaining. So yeah, no, I love this movie. I love Deadpool 2 also. Can't wait to get to that. But we're gonna talk about Logan before we talk about Deadpool 2. But before we get to those movies, we've got a lot coming up in the next few weeks, Brittany. Why don't you
Ooh,
kind of lay it out for our viewers of what we have to review, starting with we're gonna be going live Sunday night.
very exciting. This is something I think we've kind of done a couple of times in the past, but this is going to be a dedicated time slot for us on Sundays after House of the Dragon, which
Yep.
can be found on Max. The premiere episode is this Sunday, June 16th. We're very, very excited to come to y'all like what 15, 20 minutes after or like immediately after the
10,
episode premieres, basically.
10, 15 minutes after it's over, jump on YouTube, look for
Yeah.
the watchers in the basement. We're gonna be reacting to it.
Or
It's gonna be a post game show.
there's no need to look, Justin, because everyone's going to be subscribed to us and they're going to hit that
Well,
notification bell.
Of
and they're
course.
gonna
Of
know
course.
exactly when we're
Yeah.
gonna go live. So y'all, we love everyone who has taken the time to check us out, who has subscribed. If you're new here, thank you so much for being here. We hope you've liked what you've listened to and watched. Please subscribe to our channel. Please tune into our review of The House of the Dragon coming at you this Sunday after it premieres and every Sunday after that.
Yep.
But wait, there's more. We're also coming at you with Monday reviews of the latest Interview with a Vampire that's available on AMC. Frank and yours truly are covering that. We are loving this season and we want y'all to check it out as well. So be sure to join us there for the live streams. And Justin, not only is House of the Dragon premiering this weekend, we've got another favorite show of ours that's premiering as well.
Yeah, The Boys season 4 starts on this Thursday. So 3 episodes will drop as
Woo!
per usual. 3 episodes will drop. We'll be reviewing it next week. And we learned today that season 4 is actually the penultimate season of The Boys because season 5 will be the final season of the show, which is obviously a bummer. I think we
It
all
is.
thought it was going to go more than 5 seasons. I'm kind of curious, like, okay, what does that mean for Gen V? Is Gen V just going to be a 2-season show? Will it continue if The Boys is done? I don't think it will.
I don't think it will. I think that's probably why they're going to wrap with The Boys because it seemed like they were going to go back and forth. You know, you had
Yeah.
to watch one in order to understand the other, and yeah. But we'll hopefully get more information about that as it becomes available.
Yeah. So we will be doing Sunday night House of the Dragon, Monday Interview with the Vampire, and Tuesday we'll be reviewing The Boys. After Interview with the Vampire is over, we will be returning to our Mutant Rewatch. We'll watch Logan from 2017, followed by Deadpool 2, and then we will, before we know it,
We'll be
Deadpool
caught up.
Wolverine will be here. So it'll be a busy summer for us. We hope you join us and check out everything. But Brittany, we've talked about Deadpool 1. Everyone knows what we think about this movie. We love this movie. We want to know what you think about it, and how can people tell us what they think about it?
Well, just as Rakib has, King B. Johnson, Yesenia, and anyone else that I may have missed in today's chat, we appreciate y'all being here. And we always encourage those out there to join us for the live chat. We love interacting with y'all, answering your questions, throwing up your comments, because some of these comments are just hilarious, y'all, and like bars. Some of y'all come up with some great insight, and we encourage everyone to join us for the live stream. But you got to also subscribe, y'all. It takes 1 second. Like, click that button. Click subscribed. Also, don't forget to give us a like if you've enjoyed this review. And also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way, you know the next time we go live, which, as we said, will be next week on Sunday for House of the Dragon. And we also
This coming
invite.
Sunday. Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. You understood the assignment, okay? Just let me live. But also don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, all at Watchers Basement. Use the hashtag Watchers Basement to help grow our audience. And lastly, shout out to all of those who have been following us on our audio platforms. That's Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating as well.
We appreciate it. And Brittany, I appreciate that. Appreciate you. So for Brittany, I'm just saying, yeah. So for Brittany, for just on Brittany, or oh my gosh. Wow. I got all confused. It's been a long day, folks.
So for Justin,
Brittany, I'm Justin.
Brittany.
Oh gosh. For Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
What in the ass? Why is it taking forever to stop?